Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? Hope you're all doing very, very well. It is October, it is Halloween season, and we've got a fantastic mystery art movie canvas to unveil upon an unsuspecting world. Well, you guys don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Only one man does, and that's the man that sent it to me. You know him, you love him. It's Steve 007 Smith, up to his old tricks again, with another movie canvas of the quality of the likes you see behind me here for The Exorcist. Now, you guys all know, you regulars all know the routine. You know the drill. You're well versed in this. But for any newcomers who happen to have strayed into this kilted path, what Steve 007 Smith does is he sends me a mystery canvas of movie artwork. Sometimes he's retweaked the artwork, he's redesigned it, he's used fan artwork, or he's used the original poster, but he's done little bits and bobs to try and change it around and make it even more spectacular. And then he sends it off and it gets all fixed up and actually produced by this shop floor of crazy, movie geeky elves who craft it all together. And then it comes to me. But in the meantime, well, actually it was after it arrived yesterday, only then did Steve send me the kind of clues that we always come to love and expect. Yeah, the clues. And I have to try and work out what it is. And then live on camera, well, it's live as I'm doing it right now. Whenever you see it, I'll be doing something else. But, you know, it's live right now. I will unbox it and lift it up with my eyes closed. And you guys will see what it is. And you'll find out whether my detective sleuthing skills are actually up to snuff. Now, I will say that in the years that we've been doing this, I have been correct. I keep saying 95%. It's got to be something like that. It's got to be somewhere in the region of 95%. There's been a few that I've got wrong, but it's about many. All the walls will be decked with the artwork, which has been bestowed by Steve 007 Smith. And, right, this time, for Halloween, I know it's a horror. It's definitely a horror movie. He said it's a horror movie, and I haven't got a clue what it is. I mean, I say I haven't got a clue. I have got a list of potentials, and I've put little red ticks by all the ones I think, I'm really thinking they have more potential. But the clues this time, I'm absolutely stumped. Normally in the clues, I can try to work out, the decade certainly, a director, a style, and sometimes I've pretty much nailed it right away. And even when I don't tend to get them right, all the other possibilities, it's usually in there. So we shall see. I'll hit you with the clues, see if you guys can think of anything here. Because he's learnt his lesson. He's been really obscure these days. It's a horror film. Okay, we know that. It's also an odd film. I don't mean in a franchise. It's like your Star Trek movies, which have got the odd number, which are always the worst. It's just an odd little movie, I think he said. It's heavily promoted at the time of its release, but it's Marmite, meaning you either love it or loathe it. That could be anything, couldn't it? That really could be anything, because whatever floats your boat doesn't float someone else's. But okay, so we don't even know what decade. But the weird thing is, I sat in the pub last night, as is my wont, and on my phone I was doing a little list of all the possibilities. Because my writing's so horrible and straggly and just unruly and illegible, it's like someone's dipped a spider in an ink pot and then let it scuttle across the paper. I text my little list to my daughter, whose writing is incredibly neat and beautiful. It's so lovely, in fact, that I still can't read it because it's just too neat. I'm not used to that kind of quality. But so she's put them all down here. Now, on my phone, I think after I sent the list, I kind of rejigged things. I didn't add anything, but I wanted to lump some together. But that hasn't happened. So the first list I sent to it is probably in the wrong order, really. But I will still work my way down it. So let's remind ourselves what the clues are. It's a horror film, okay. It's also an odd little movie. Heavily promoted at the time of its release, but it's Marmite. You either love it or you loathe it. Now, although I said there's no decade that he's given me, but weirdly enough, everything I've put down here is actually, apart from one, is from the 80s. And I don't know why I've done that, but me and Steve tend to think on the same sort of wavelength. And obviously, the film in question it's in this box here. The film in question will be something that I must have mentioned it at some point and probably talked about it quite in depth. Otherwise, he wouldn't think to send it to me. So it's got to be something I'm really into. But that doesn't really narrow things down either, because I love so many movies. Anyway, a couple of other people have actually, because I put like a little on the community thing on this YouTube, this newfangled razzmatazz of YouTube on the community bit. I put those clues down to see if anyone else wanted to play along, and a couple of people did, and their ideas were, what were they? Hellraiser, I think it was, and do you know, I've forgotten, but people have been messaging me as well, and Exorcist 3 was mentioned, Prophecy was mentioned. I've covered both movies, and Hellraiser, so, but they're not on my list, because, well, I just didn't think of them at all. But anyway, my ideas are thus, in no particular order. Reanimator. Why? Actually, I don't really know. I was thinking of odd films, odd horror movies, and Stuart Gordon's fabulous, gory, exceptionally moist Reanimator is an odd little movie, without a doubt. But was it heavily promoted at the time? Well, I knew about it coming out, but I don't think the general population knew much about it until it actually hit cinema screens, albeit cut down in the UK. Is it Marmite though? Do people tend to love it or loathe it? Not really. I think people mostly enjoy it. So, okay, the next one, and I put a little red tick next to this, is The Final Conflict. Me and Steve are both big fans of the Omen trilogy and the books that came afterwards, in the full series of Damien's quest for world dominance on behalf of his father, Satan. Now, Final Conflict, when that came out, it was already a great big trilogy. Damien Omen 2 was pretty successful. The Omen was massively successful, and is the best of the bunch. But The Final Conflict, despite having another fabulous Jerry Goldsmith score and a great Sam Neill in there, it was a bit of a disappointment, especially when you bring back the Nazarene, Jesus Christ, to destroy him at the end. And it kind of went out on a bit of a lackluster finale, and it wasn't that well received, but it was a big movie, massively promoted at the time. Is it odd? I think by virtue of being a horror movie, all horror movies are going to be odd, because you've got odd things happen. You've got odd characters there. Your protagonists are always a bit odd. Your antagonist is definitely odd. So, But I put a tick next to that. Here's the one that's not from the 80s. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Wasn't massively heavily promoted at the time of its release. Kind of snuck out. But notoriety set the world ablaze. So, and it's certainly an odd film with an odd bunch of characters, and lots of very odd circumstances ensue. And I do talk about it a lot. I've covered Texas Chainsaw quite a bit over the years. But I didn't put a tick next to this. I can't think why, but I didn't. Dead and Buried. Dead and Buried is a film from about 1981, and in Potter's Bluff, and it's a zombie movie, but not a normal kind. It's a film I keep wanting to cover properly. It's got the great James Valentine in it, as the sort of Martin Brody local police chief, but visitors are being murdered in horribly gruesome ways. But what's happening is you've got an alchemist who is the old warlock, is actually the town's mortician, and he loves his old skills of reconstructing corpses and making them look beautiful, but he's also learned how to bring them back to life as well. So it's a really bizarre movie, very odd movie, very, very violent, very gory, quite a nasty little film, but it's wonderful. A few twists and revelations in there. I love it and really do mean to cover it properly. So Dead and Buried is on the list. Didn't put a tick next to that. I put Day of the Dead. Why did I do that? Day of the Dead kind of limped into UK cinemas when it came out, although it was quite highly broadcast and promoted in America when it came out far earlier. We had to wait a good deal of time because the BBFC, the British Board of Film Classification, censors to you and me, did not like George Romero's third entry in what was going to be just a trilogy. But of course, he went on, didn't he? Because you can't keep a good zombie down, can you, for long? But I mean, it's a big movie, and if you're a horror fan, you know, you revere it. Is it Marmite though? I don't think so. I think everyone who likes zombie movies loves Day of the Dead, so I don't think it's Day of the Dead. Now, here's 3 movies from the same franchise, right? And perfectly timed for this season. Halloween 2, Halloween 3, which I put further down the list, and Halloween 4. Now, why Halloween 2? It was a big success, but it's kind of Marmite because people don't like the brother-sister angle of Laurie Strode and Michael Myers. Understandable. And it's also a lot nastier than the original movie, Halloween. So some people didn't like it for that reason. I love it though, but massively promoted. Is it an odd film? Not well. It's just stalk and slash, isn't it? Halloween 3. Why did I put that down? Wasn't massively promoted in this country. It's certainly an odd film. It's a very odd movie, but love it or loathe it, and I love it. It's Michael Myers free. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. No Michael Myers in it, and many people, even to this day, even with their newfound sort of mature outlook and sophistication in movie watching and savvy, still don't like it for that reason. They can't get over that fact. But I think it's great. And I put down Halloween 4, which was quite heavily bigged up in this country when it first came out. And it's a return of Michael Myers. Well, it's called that, isn't it? Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. And it's one of the first films that me and she would become my wife, Mrs. Kilt-Man. She was just Janet in those days. One of the first films we ever saw at the flicks together. She hates horror movies. But the reason why I put that down, because it sticks in my mind. I loved it. Didn't like the masks that were in it, but I liked some of the ideas, and I liked some of the kills, like the suspense, like the build-up. But walking out of the cinema, people were like going, that was crap. I heard many people say, oh, well, that was a load of crap, wasn't it? Rubbish. Michael Myers was a bit of a pussy, innit? He? Did you see the same film I saw? So I put Halloween 4 down for that reason alone, because some people clearly didn't like it. Of course, now that franchise has gone on and on and on, and then of course been rebooted now, Halloween 4 is held in a much higher esteem, and I revisit it quite a bit, and I do really enjoy it. Then I put down one which, by the way, I ticked Halloween 2, put a red tick by that, and I put a red tick by Halloween 3. Another one with a red tick by it, actually there's quite a lot with red ticks by them, is From Beyond, from the same stable as Reanimator, Stuart Gordon. Now this was they were all H.P. Lovecraft, very loose adaptations, but From Beyond, with the whole phallic pineal gland coming out of between the eyes. Barbara Crampton again, she was mostly nude in Reanimator. Here she wears some kinky S&M gear, but you've got this weird contraption which allows you to see into another dimension. But if you can see into it, then the creatures you see there can see you, and they're hungry. I love this movie. I have reviewed it, but I know many people that don't like it at all because they just think, well, it's just too fantastical. I want more conventional zombies and stuff. Some people, pleasing some people, isn't it? But From Beyond, and I put a tick by that. The next one is ticked as well. In fact, the next bunch are ticked. Company of Wolves, which I've covered. Neil Jordan's elaborate, whimsical, coming-of-age fairy story with werewolves in it, of Angela Carter's esteemed, bloody sequence of coming-of-age stories, subverted fairy stories for girls. I love this movie. As I say, I've covered it extensively on the channel, and but I remember it was massively bigged up at the time. I mean, even on the magazine programs in the morning, the breakfast shows, they had the girl in it, what's her name, Sarah Patterson, and some of the wolves were regular guests on these talk shows to big up the movie. And It was a massive film. I remember it coming out and it was really huge. It is definitely an odd film. It's definitely a horror film. But it is Marmite as well, because some people I know just despise it because it's episodic. It's just whimsy and fairy stories and Little Red Riding Hood and dreams within dreams and that kind of thing. And I love it for all those reasons. But I know loads that don't. So yeah, there's a tick by Company of Wolves. I've put down Army of Darkness. Why the hell did I do that? The third part of Sam Raimi's Deadite trilogy, well, initial trilogy, went on to the TV show, obviously. Well, Army of Darkness, some people didn't like it, I suppose, because it wasn't as gory as its two predecessors, especially the first one. It was more of a sort of homage to Ray Harryhausen with stop motion animation, and it should have been called The Medieval Dead. It should have been called Evil Dead 3, The Medieval Dead, which was perfect. Why the hell they didn't do that, I don't know. Army of Darkness just doesn't really fit the bill, I don't think. But I do know people that don't like it for, it's not as gory. I love it. It's definitely odd. And there's a couple of versions of it, which you can watch, a couple of different endings. I think it's quirky, it's offbeat. It's not quite the horror film that the first two are, but it's still wonderful entertainment. But I'd put a tick by that. Now, we're entering the territory of some I really do think that could be. Okay, right. Life Force. Toby Hooper, who did, of course, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I've covered Life Force a lot on the channel. Matilda Bay, Parisian Babe, space vampiress, struts around London in the buff, and people who they suck the life force out of people, and then they are reanimated, and they've got to suck the life force out of somebody else before they just explode. It is absolute mayhem. It doesn't make one bit of sense. It's based on Colin Wilson's Space Vampires novel, which is really rubbish, I'm going to be honest. It's just too waffly. And but the movie's anything but. Whatever waffle you've got in it, it's just completely insane. But you've got effects all over the show. Space shuttles, Halley's Comet. London becomes a huge explosive epicenter of zombie plaguedom. It's got SAS in there. It's got all sorts. It's fantastic. So yeah, it's an odd movie. It's a horror film, sci-fi. It was massively promoted at the time. It was huge. But it was a Marmite movie. Many people just despise it because they just didn't take it seriously. Well, you can't, but... So I'll put that down with a tick beside it. And then here's one. Now this one. In fact, I should come back to this one because I really got a feeling about that. I'm going to come back to that one, okay? I've put Wolfen down. Regular viewers know it's one of my favourite movies of all time. It's a very odd film. It's a horror thriller, police procedural, based on Whitley Strieber's epic novel of the title The Wolfen. The film is just called Wolfen. Great James Horner score. They're not werewolves, they are genuinely wolves on the attack, but they're super intelligent wolves, and they're played by real wolves. No animatronics, nothing like that. No dogs, no German shepherds with that have had their fur spruced up to make them look like wolves. No, they're genuine wolves. I love it. It's odd. It's quirky. Some eccentric characters in there. Was it heavily promoted? No. It wasn't. But it's a love it or loathe it movie. I know many despise it because it's not werewolves. Again, the reason why people don't like movies is often quite illogical and knee-jerk, but that's also why you love movies. It can be illogical and very knee-jerk. I love this film because it's got Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. I love this film because it's got Stallone in it. I love this movie because it's got big boobies in it. Illogical. That isn't illogical to like big boobies though, is it? No, it isn't. Okay, I'll put a tick by Wolfen as well. We've got The Keep, Michael Mann's 1984, was it? Adaptation of F. Paul Wilson's phenomenal novel, The Keep, set in World War II in Romania. Well, it's actually Transylvania. And the Germans are trying to hold this castle keep, but they're getting picked off one by one by some mysterious vampiric presence, which they have awakened from the deep catacombs beneath this castle keep. It is a fabulously bizarre movie. Michael Mann pretty much disowns it because it was messed around with. The production was curtailed. Fabulous score by Tangerine Dream. Some great effects, some of them are not so good, but it gets by on fabulous atmosphere. It's grim, it's dark, it's very gothic, very foreboding. Scott Glenn, Ian McKellen, Gabriel Byrne are in. They're brilliant all-star cast, but the film is broken and troubled, and you still can't get a proper version of it. I know Criterion have put it out on their own channel, the Criterion channel, but apparently it's not a restored copy, which I initially thought it would be, and I thought that would pave the way for Criterion themselves to do a big collector's edition of The Keep, fully restored. Don't get your hopes up, folks, because as Michael Mann has said, most of the footage which he wanted to put in there was not finished anyway, so you're never going to see that full, everyone thinks this mythical version is going to come out, but no, it won't with all these other extra scenes. Sadly, mate, it won't. I put a tick by that, though, because it's very visually fantastic, and I've done videos on it. I've done 2 big videos just on the movie itself, and Steve knows this. So put a tick by that. There's 2 more here. Dario Argento's Phenomena. Now, I don't think it's this, but the reason why I put that there is because it is an odd movie. Donald Pleasance, Jennifer Connelly, a mutant dwarf thing, and a chimpanzee. And lots of bugs. Lots and lots of bugs and maggots and flies and horribleness. Dario Argento, of course, needs no introduction. Suspiria is one of my favourite films of all time. Phenomena is nowhere near the calibre of Suspiria or his earlier movies, his Giallo. So why is it there? Well, it came out in this country. There was a lot of ballyhoo on the home video front when it came out. Palace Pictures, who did The Evil Dead as well, they put the video out and in a gorgeous box, but it was a shortened version of the movie and it was called Creepers. What? And it didn't make much sense. To be honest, even the longer version doesn't make a lot of sense. But its original title is Phenomena. And I know loads that don't like it. And I am on the fence with this. So I don't think it's this because I really don't talk about that often. I may have, in talking about other Argento movies, I've probably mentioned this. And I've probably said, it's not one of his best. There's some good elements. Visually, it's great, but I'm not a massive fan. So it can't be that, can it? What's the last film I put down here? Videodrome, which I reviewed only a couple of weeks ago. I've been doing a massive sort of David Cronenberg sort of thing at the moment. And I'm playing the soundtrack to Nightbreed by Danny Elfman's score for the Clive Barker Nightbreed. And who's in that? As Buttonface, Dr. Decker? It is none other than David Cronenberg. This is an odd movie. Horror film, odd film. It was heavily promoted. It is Marmite. A lot of people don't like it at all. And the people that love it really love it and go OTT on it. Not 80s, it's 1990, I think that came out. Should I put that on that? Nightbreed. Oh God. But I put Videodrome down. Very odd film. Wasn't well received. Didn't do commercially very well at all. But it's gone on to get cult status. And I adore the movie. I've covered it a lot already. I didn't put a tick by it because I don't think it's that. What was the one I was going to come back to? Oh yeah, Alien 3. Sorry folks, the sun is absolutely binging through the window, so just 1 second while I shut that away. Banish the sunlight. It's Halloween, don't you know? We want storms, darkness, shadows, noir, gothic, not blazing bloody sunshine. Alien Alien 3 from 1993, thereabouts. After the bombastic success of Aliens and the huge success that was Alien, David Fincher's version, his interpretation of what's going to happen to Ripley and what's already happened to Newt and Hicks. I love Alien 3. Elliot Goldenthal's fantastic score. Great, mostly great effects as far as I'm concerned. There's some dodgy CG in there, but it's gory. loads of lashings of cranial eruptions as the inner gob goes whoosh from the dog alien or the cow alien, depending on which version you've seen. Great sort of setting as well. Fiorina 10, whatever it's called. The prison planet where Ripley ends up after crash landing there. And of course, Ripley, in another dark twist, has been impregnated and she's got a queen alien in her tummy. Not a good day out. And she has to get her luxurious locks shorn right down to the wood to blend in with the prisoners because they have a problem with lice on this planet. So, Alien 3, folks. That fits the bill. Horror film, very odd, massively promoted. It's a third entry in the Alien franchise. Definitely Marmite. If you love it, you definitely love it. If you're not on the fence with this, you genuinely either love it or you loathe it, whichever version you watch. And the people that despise it, they're not very quiet about it. They're very hostile towards it. And if you love it, you're kind of in a minority, really. And you've got to get really on the back foot and defend it. So, folks. See, now I'm thinking about Nightbreed now. Very odd movie. So the ones I've ticked, folks, are thus. The Final Conflict. Halloween 2, Halloween 3. I didn't tick Halloween 4. From Beyond, Company of Wolves, Army of Darkness, Life Force, Alien 3, Wolfen and The Keep. But in all honesty, if you had to ask me to pick one of those, given those clues, I'm really stumbling. Normally I've got some kind of like feeling with this, but this time I just genuinely do not have that gut feeling. I think I know what it is. I think what really fits those clues, and any of them would be wonderful, but The Keep, Life Force, The Keep, Life Force, and Alien 3. Halloween 2, Halloween 3, Final Conflict, Company of Wolves, Army of Darkness, Life Force, Wolfen. Oh, you know what? Fuck it, because I don't know. So, Steve, I'm sorry, mate. I'm gonna have to just open it because I genuinely don't know what it is. But if it's Alien 3, I did say that. What else was there? Alien 3, Life Force, Halloween 3, Wolfen, The Keep. Ah, there's a husky dog has entered the room after her traipsing around the boneyard, the cemetery. Just 1 second. Cheers, y'all. So you'll probably hear her munching on the treats I just left in the bowl for her as a welcome home, and she'll start chugging back the water. Here we go, folks. Oh, I'm missing something, aren't I? I'm missing my skiing do to open it with. Just 1 second. Roxy, let's take your harness off. Dog's harness. Trusty skiing do. What do you do with that then, Kilt-Man? That is your wee Scottish dirk, and it lives down your boot, down your wee booty, down the side there. So in times of stress, necessity, you can whip it out. And obviously open up cardboard boxes. So here we go, folks. Here's the box. I can't turn around the other way because it's got my address on it. I don't know why I do this, because you can actually just flip these things off. But anyway, let's get in here. Oh God. Okay, right, what I'm going to do, tell you what, it's not Nightbreed, I'm sure it isn't Nightbreed. I'll put on the soundtrack to Alien 3. Elliot Goldenthal. Very dark, very grim score. Very upsetting, very harrowing, but a wonderful score and a wonderful film. Oh, it's Alien 3. Cheers, y'all. God, I've reached for this again. By the way, there's 2 other boxes here as well, which arrived. A great big crate from, again, another regular channel contributor. Astrodyne has sent a huge crate. But Ronnie, Captain Ronnie from Ireland, has sent over something which we think is Jaws related, because everything Ronnie sends over has a Jaws connection, usually. So, we've got more unboxings. Is it my birthday? Is it Christmas? No, it's Halloween. Oh, God. Right. Now, it's sealed in with a cardboard backing piece, and the canvas is pushed against the backing piece, so I can't see what it is. But I've got to get the cellophane off it now. So I'm going to raise it up so you guys see it first. Come on, Alien 3. Come on, Alien 3. It won't be. Steve, mate, this time, you definitely got me. That's what I could come up with. And the more I think about it, look at me stalling for time. The more I think about it now, I could have gone back into the 60s, the 70s, even a lot of Universal horrors as well. So I really am in the dark here. Okay. I can't get it out. Right. If it's upside down, I apologise. It's up. It's Halloween 3. Well, I got the 3 part right, didn't I? Oh, God, look at it. Oh, folks. Did I said Halloween 3, didn't I? I said Halloween 2 and 3 and 4. So, I was sort of on the right path, wasn't I? Look at that. And I've never seen that artwork before. I've seen lots of fan artwork and other ideas based on Halloween 3, but that's terrific, that. And of course, I've got all these masks as well. Oh, what did I set up? Oh, from Evil Dead 2, Evil Ash and Evil Ed. Oh, God, and The Exorcist. Oh, I've got the masks. Oh, I'm not going to go and get them now. Look at that. What's the tagline here? The night no one comes home. Playing on, of course, Halloween, the night he came home. There's the great Tom Atkins as Dr. Dan Chalice, our hero. Tom Atkins is the horror fans' Nick Nolte. And he's wonderful in this movie. He's the world's worst doctor. He's just pinching nurses' bums. He's copping off left, right and centre. He uncovers this plot, this nefarious, dastardly plot that this aging warlock has called Conal Cochrane, played magnificently by Dan O'Herlihy, and he runs Silver Shamrock Novelties in the lovely Northern California town of Santa Mira. And he's took over that town, and he has an army of androids, one of whom is actually Dick Warlock, who is Kurt Russell's stunt double in most of his movies, and also played Michael Myers in Halloween 2. There you go. And he plays an android in this, and they're like assassins, but Conal Cochrane is playing a Halloween trick, a prank on what am I doing playing this? I've got the score for Halloween 3. Bear with me, folks. Bear with me. God. Oh. John Carpenter and Alan Howard did this score. A great collaboration. His scheme is to... All his masks have the Silver Shamrock sort of microchip in the back of the mask. And when a certain signal is given off on that infernal bloody TV jingle jangle, 3 more days to Halloween, 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 all that, which is great, it sticks in your head. But the big giveaway at 9, remember all the kids in North America, they'd be sitting wearing their masks in front of the TV screen for the big giveaway. But when the signal goes on, their heads will erupt into maggots and spiders and snakes and cockroaches, and they would just erupt into bloody chaos. And it's the biggest trick of all, the trick on the children, because Colonel Cochrane, he's harking back to the old 2,000-year-old festival of Samhain, written Samhain, which is the progenitor for Halloween, where the old Irish druidic tribes would try to ward off the devils by making sacrifices, to ward them off and keep the crops fertile and give them a proper good spring, see them through the winter, So they'd sacrifice animals and children. So that's what he wants to bring that back, because America's become corrupted by trick or treating and going begging for candy and all this. But Dan O'Hara, he's fucking awesome in this movie. You've got the lush Stacey Nelkin as Ellie Granger, is that the name? Whose father started the movie. He's uncovered what's happening and he's being pursued by androids. And then conveniently in Dr. Chalice's hospital, he gets his eyes gouged out by one of these android assassins in their business suits, who Dr. Dan then sees this assassin incinerate himself in a car. But when they probe through all the remains, they just find nothing but machinery and clockwork bits and bobs. There's no man in that car. So together with the daughter of this guy that was assassinated, Dr. Dan and Stacey, Dr. Dan puts the moves on Stacey. There's no stopping Dr. Dan. Tom Atkins, what a man. They go down to Santa Mira and they uncover all this. And how come these microchips have got sort of supernatural powers that turn your head into bug-infested mush? Because they've got little chips, literally stone chips, of the big master stones from Stonehenge. I've said this before and I'll say it again. One of my favourite lines in any movie, whatever genre, it's just so brilliant. They've actually got this big standing stone from Stonehenge in this factory in Santa Mira, and all over TV you've seen, like BBC news crews are at Stonehenge, and the theft of this headstone, this huge big master stone, I think they call it. How could they get it out of there? And Dan O'Hara, he as Colonel Cochrane, says to Tom Atkins, in that sort of the big baddie gives away his entire plan. You get all that monologuing, but it works great in this. And he says, we had a time getting it here, meaning this big standing stone. You wouldn't believe how we did it. And you want to know? But they don't need to tell you. He just said, you wouldn't believe how we did it. That's perfect. I just love that line. Let's do this again. Look at it. Dr. Dan. So these are all the TV screens which are going to be broadcasting this signal. These are the mask, the witch, the skull, which Dan O'Hara, he as Colonel Cochrane, puts on him. He's tied to a chair. He's already witnessed the massacre of a family who've haplessly, they've won a prize to go and see Silver Shamrock, but they're going to be guinea pigs, they're going to be tested. And they put that one on the kid, little buddy, and the signal goes on, but they're locked in this room, a sort of facsimile of a cosy and quaint American parlour. And the signal goes on, the kid's head turns to mush, the mum and dad start screaming, but the snakes and the spiders get them as well. But Colonel Cochrane has made Dr. Dan watch this as well, and he's just horrified. And then he explains, this is what I'm going to do. Yeah, and you can't stop me. Oh, by the way, do stick around and watch the broadcast at 9. And he puts the skull on him. But Dan manages to get free of that. And he sabotages the whole thing, destroys all the microchips and all the androids, makes a getaway with Stacey Nelkin. She's not on this, is she? Can't see her. Can't see it. Only to discover that she's a fucking android as well. So you get lots of fake endings where suddenly she comes back again, and then the hand comes back, and it's just great stuff. But the end of the movie has Dr. Dan running down the same motorway, going to the same service station that the original guy did as well, who was being pursued by assassins. But he's frightened out of his brain, and he's trying to, I've got to make a phone call. And he's trying to get the TV ad taken off all the 3 main channels, and he gets it taken off 2 channels. What channel's going to believe just some random guy that phones up? And they're going, what, is it a bomb? Yeah, say it's a bomb, just say it's a bomb. and they take it off to the channels, but it's called, please, the third channel. It's still on the third channel. Please, take it off now. Please. And then it's like, do it now! It's meant to mimic Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the great Don Siegel movie. The original Invasion of the Body Snatchers from the 50s with Kevin McCarthy, because that's one of John Carpenter's favourite movies, and he said, oh, that's my homage. He said, this is my pod movie. It's not a slasher, not a Michael Myers movie, it's a pod movie. So, folks, Halloween 3, let's go back to what were the clues? Horror, yes. Odd film, very definitely. Heavily promoted. Yes, it was, because it was the third entry in the Halloween franchise, after the big success of Halloween 2, and massive success of Halloween. But it's Marmite for, I think I said earlier, didn't I? 'Cause I did cover this before. People didn't like it because there was no Michael Myers. And it's called Halloween 3. When really, it should have just been called Season of the Witch. Just call it that. Take out the Halloween 3 thing. Because no one knew he wasn't going to be in it. Well, if you read Starburst and Fangoria magazines then and Cinefantastique, then yeah, you'd have known, because the plot was kind of given away way before the film got released. But you had to be reading them magazines. So Marmite, yeah, people despise this movie, but I love it, absolutely love it, and I love this. It's really colourful, but that icky green of the witch, that's spot on. I mean, there's a bit of poetic license here because that's obviously, presumably, that's meant to be Dr. Dan. Although, having said that, I'm not sure who that is because they're wearing a skeleton costume as well. And we don't see anyone actually erupt from the skull mask. But we do see poor old Buddy get chomped by bugs aplenty with that one. And there's that's Ellie's hand. Ellie. I'm sure it's Ellie Granger, played by Stacey Nelkin, when the hand comes back to life and goes after him. You've got technicians who are androids and they're covered in bugs and all sorts of stuff. It's a wonderful, wonderful image. And look at the hands here, which are covered with bugs as well. It's just terrific. I love it. That's nice as well. Down here we have the Silver Shamrock logo, which is also the microchip on the back of the masks. Is the Silver Shamrock logo from Silver Shamrock Novelties. That is outstanding, mate. I love the colours. I love the sort of like the little twist he's doing, the pivot that Dr. Dan is doing. That's terrific. Did you know that Nigel Neal, the great Nigel Neal, wrote the original screenplay for this? And sorry, I have talked about this before, I know, but I'm on a roll now with this. Nigel Neal was the Rocket Man. He created Professor Bernard Quatermass, which the Beeb loved and made the Quatermass Experiment, Quatermass 2, and Quatermass in the Pit. And then Hammer took over and remade all of those brilliantly. And then you got the Quatermass conclusion, which was just called Quatermass, with John Mills playing Professor Quatermass. And you got that in, I think, the late 70s. It was a 2-part TV dramatisation, which didn't go down very well. But John Carpenter was a massive fan. Carpenter did not direct this. It was his buddy, Tommy Lee Wallace, who directed it, and does a really bang-up job as well. And Dean Cundy, the regular cinematographer Dean Cundy, with his Panaglide, lensed it. Looks magnificent. And I said John Carpenter and Alan Howarth did the score for it. So a lot of the same creative team was there. Initially, Joe Dante was meant to direct it. Carpenter didn't want to do it. He was too busy, and he was in too much shock from the aftermath and fallout of The Thing, the massive flop that was The Thing. Also, the greatest film ever made, but a massive flop when it came out. So Nigel Neal came up with the idea, and the premise is exactly what Neal came up with about this warlock. But Neal's screenplay was apparently way too grim, way too serious, very talky, and very anti-Irish. And Carpenter said, like, you know, audiences want to have a fun time. You want thrills and chills and be scared and have a laugh. You want to enjoy themselves. And Nigel Neal said, I don't care about audiences. You write a screenplay for a movie, you don't care about audiences. Carpenter said they didn't get along. Nigel Neal was one of his heroes from all the Quatermass stuff, and I said I really wanted to meet this guy, and because he's a great thinker, his mind's fantastic, his imagination's huge. I wish I was like that. John, your imagination is fantastic, mate, don't worry. But they didn't get along, and in the end, Nigel Neal demanded to have his name taken off it, because, as I say, it was going to be Joe Dante who was going to direct it, then he stepped out. What was that before? Gremlins? Must have been Gremlins. And Tommy Lee Wallace took over. But John Carpenter kept changing the script, and like Nigel Neal said, it's all slashing eyeballs and stuff. Well, there's no eyeballs getting slashed in it, but it certainly is a lot nastier than what he came up with. Although his theme was genuinely nasty. It was about mind control rather than heads erupting into snakes and spiders. But yeah, so they did not get along, and never meet your heroes. Doesn't always work out the way you want it to. So, but John Carpenter, who was, I know I go on at length about John Carpenter having pretty much no integrity these days and selling everything. Just wants to make money. Doesn't care about the what he's created. He just sells it on now. Doesn't worry. Doesn't give a hoot what happens to it now. But he's still an honourable man, and he's still one of my absolute heroes of all time. But when he made Prince of Darkness, it was written by a guy. Well, the screenplay was credited to Martin Quatermass as another homage to Nigel Neal. So even though the two did not get along, John Carpenter was still like, I still admire the guy, regardless. Although he does call Nigel Neal just an angry old man. So he's got a chip on his shoulder. A microchip from Stonehenge, don't you know? But I love this movie, and Steve, that is fantastic. It's very colourful, isn't it? Look at it. It's wonderful. There's tons of bugs on it as well. By the way, in a couple of days' time, even without this, I would have been getting all these masks down because it's Halloween. So they would have been around. You'd have seen them in the background of other videos. Just I didn't get them this time. Damn it. So mate, you got me. I did not guess this. Although you got to give me some kind of credit because I did write it down, along with about 30 other movies. But this is this score, isn't it? That's awesome. But yeah, I love that as well. That is the even though this is sort of fan-created artwork, which I'm sure Steve's doctored around a bit, changing the colour here, there, and whatever. But that logo and that sort of silvery sort of sheen to it, and the blood red Season of the Witch, that is the original logo. I've got the novel, there's a novelisation, and I've got it, the initial Thorn EMI video cassette on Betamax, which was heavily cut. The film was cut in the UK, and the videotape was cut even further to get a 15 certificate. Of course, now it's fully uncut. And I remember the first time I saw the full uncut version, which I do believe I got from the author Ramsey Campbell, who lives just down the road. One of the greatest living horror writers that the world has ever known. Cheers Ramsey, cheers Steve. Cheers Dr. Dan, the Randy surgeon. There's a guy in Santa Mira. Whenever Colonel Cochrane drives past, everyone stops and waves. And they're all Irish as well. And I will not try to do the Irish accent. I can't do it. And they're going, wonderful man, that Colonel Cochrane. Look what he's done for us. Wonderful man. There he goes. But there's a town drunk who does not like him. And he's going, hey, Cochrane, fuck you. Bad idea. Because later that night, as he's stumbling around looking for his hooch, his whiskey, his whatever, he encounters two android assassins who put him on his knees and twist his fucking head off like that. Way! In the UK, they just seem to grab him by both sides of his head, by his ears, and they just go, and you sort of see them in silhouette, like a long shot. You've got no idea what they're doing. I always thought, that's crushing his head. No, they tear his fucking head right off. Bit of twisting, bit of turning, bit of pivoting, and then off it comes. with a big elastic of flesh from the throat and loads of blood fountaining everywhere, and then just throw the head down. When I first saw it, I was like, oh my god. Oh, here you are.
It's almost time, kids. The clock is ticking. Be in front of your TV sets for the horror.
That is Tommy Lee Wallace. That's his voice there.
Don't miss it. And don't forget to wear your masks.
Don't forget to wear your masks.
It's almost time.
Oh, it's so infernal, isn't it? It really, really gets on your nerves. But it's great. It's probably another reason why people don't like this movie, because that got in their head and just completely fucked around with them. And there's no Michael Myers. Although Halloween is playing on the TV. If you look in the background, I think it's in the bar. Halloween is playing there. But I do absolutely love this movie. And Steve, that's fantastic. And mate, I'm going to give this one to you, because I did not come up with Halloween 3 as being the definitive answer. If anything, I was leaning towards Alien 3. So I was on the right track with the third part of a classic movie franchise. And I think behind that, I would have gone with The Keep. But they all fit the bill. And this one fits the bill, mate. So, yeah, you got me. And I love it. I'm not sure where it's going to go right now, but it's going to go somewhere fairly swiftly. So, folks, I have... Here's a box here. This box here is off Ronnie, Captain Ronnie from Ireland. And there is a crate, and I mean fucking crate, is in the other room. I'm probably going to open that box later on and probably save the big crate for tomorrow. I love this time of year, don't you? So, folks, if you've got one, take a swig of it now. Let's raise this to all our friends out there who are supplying such wonderful kit and caboodle, because it's fantastic. Really, really, truly loving that. That is outstanding. And I love this bit of music here as well. Kilt-Man, do you ever stop talking? No, I don't. It's so melancholy and doom laden. When Colonel Cochrane gives his supervillain monologue as to why he's doing what he's doing, and he talks to Dr. Dan about the festival of Samhain, and the hills ran red with the blood of animals and children. It's just so grim, and he's like, I'm going to play a trick, the best trick of all, on the children. Oh God, one of the greatest villains in a genre movie, I think. And he is exactly what Nigel Neal wrote. The Carpenter always says that, well, even though I changed the screenplay a lot, but the basic idea was exactly the same, apart from the mind control thing. But that central warlock figure of Colonel Cochrane, that's exactly what Nigel Neal wrote. So, Nigel as well. Right, folks, I've been always shall be Kilt-Man, so please keep it Kilty, keep it Celtic, and I'm going to see you all for the big giveaway at 9. At 9. Haters! Turn it off! Turn it off now! Okay, I'm going to turn it off now. Keep your hair on.